hands and make her dance. These chicks clapping and they ain't using hands.
James Harden has been asking for a trade, reportedly wanting to play for the Philadelphia 76ers, Miami Heat, or reunite with former teammate Kevin Durant on the Brooklyn Nets. But are the Jazz also on that short list of contenders he would like to play for?
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
The Rockets don't want to give up James Harden without getting substantial assets back in return. But James Harden seems to be forcing his way out regardless of what the Rockets want in return. Of course, the Rockets have the power in this situation and can force Stepdaddy Harden to play for them regardless of where he wants to be traded. But how big of a deal is it that he's going to a strip club? Could he possibly end up on the best team in the West, the Utah Jazz? Welcome to Opochly. Let's analyze the James Stepdaddy Harden strip club situation and see if the hate from the media is warranted. Let's see about the possibility of him ending up in Utah. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, that was nasty.
He came down the slope and slammed it home. James Harden with 12 points in the second quarter.
The Rockets' stance on what they would want in a potential trade for James Harden hasn't changed. They are seeking an all-star type player along with several assets which include first-round picks. So it seems a little fruitless for him to be pulling these stunts when he is a professional and the situation is out of his control. He is still contractually obligated to play for the Rockets, but just like a call center representative can party with the boys all night and then call in sick the next day, or the Best Buy employee who decided to call in sick after playing video games, or the Taco Bell fry cook who spent his entire paycheck at American Bush and was too exhausted to work the next day. What makes the Harden situation any different? Is it merely the fact that he is making millions of dollars and should be held to a higher standard than the average American? I can empathize with James Harden as a human being and I can see where he is coming from. He just had another disappointing season which ended in a that was like a prison for a lot of these NBA players. And then the media destroyed the Rockets and James Harden. Do you think James Harden's feelings weren't hurt by all the things the media was saying after they lost in the playoffs? On top of that, he and the other players on the team must not like the relationship that they have with their overseer, Tillman Fertitta. Could you imagine working for someone who supports someone who you see as a racist figurehead? Nevertheless, the Rockets and or the NBA might take this opportunity to make an example out of Harden before a player empowerment movement gets out of control.
I could do more than just say it. Strip club veteran head.
But let's not forget that James Harden is sending tens, if not hundreds of young women to college.
Came from the rags to riches. Now we got bags and bitches.
With his stepdaddy strip club college fund that puts rappers like Juicy J and 2 Chainz to shame?
Say you need some extra cash to pay for college with. And it just so happens I got a lot of it. I be laughing to the bank.
With the global pandemic in full effect this year, it's not crazy to assume many of the players have been going through a lot of mental fatigue, and the infamous NBA playoffs at World Disney was not the vacation many players envisioned at the start of the 2019 NBA season. Let's be honest, all of the teams who participated in the bubble playoffs got the short end of the stick and had their off-season time cut short.
You a college chick. Keep twerking, baby, it might earn you a scholarship.
James Harden just needed some time to do charity work before the season started, and it's a totally reasonable request considering the circumstances. It's not like NBA superstars haven't pulled shenanigans like this before. Let's remember, the media is throwing stones at Harden because of practice.
If somebody say he doesn't come to practice, it can be one practice. Out of all the practices this year, that's enough.
They are upset with him because he didn't go to practice.
When you just talk about practice, we sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game. Not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We talking about practice, man.
One of the best players in the world is being scrutinized because he didn't go to practice?
We're not even talking about the game, the actual game, when it matters. We're talking about practice.
Because he wanted to see some booty shake and celebrate his friend's birthday?
Black man with a lot of money got the white man wanna off me.
What guy wouldn't want to see some booty shake instead of playing spades with Coach Silas, John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins?
Been around a bowl, why you do a split. By the end of the night, might earn you a scholarship.
James Harden's mother, Monia Willis, said her son is doing what is best for his career and is simply wanting the best chance to get a ring. There is speculation he has a better chance to win a ring in Brooklyn with Coach Steve Nash. Harden is under contract for 2 more seasons before a player option, so he is not in a strong position to make demands. Houston's strong negotiation position has proved to be a double-edged sword. The primary reason James Harden remains in Houston is because of the lack of credible offers for his services. A player of James Harden's talents with 2 years on their contract does not get traded without a massive return and early favorites to secure him. The Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers simply are not willing to depart with enough assets to convince the Rockets to pull the trigger. So how could he possibly end up in Utah? Remember when the Toronto Raptors took a gamble on Kawhi Leonard and it paid off with the franchise's first title? Why shouldn't the Jazz take a gamble for a chance at a championship? Sometimes that means sacrificing a player everyone loves. In Toronto's case, that was DeMar DeRozan. For the Jazz, who could we send off that would be a win-win for both squads? Of course, we aren't willing to trade Harden for Donovan Mitchell. The only way that would happen is if Donovan Mitchell comes out and says he doesn't want to play in Utah. But that seems very unlikely since he just signed a Supermax extension this offseason. I'm sure if the Rockets asked, the Jazz would say, fuck.
No! God! No! No! No!
But would we trade Gobert for Harden? This would literally change the backbone of the Jazz as a cohesive team unit. There would only be one basketball to share amongst 2 scorers, albeit some of the best scorers in NBA history. Mitchell has shown he can play point guard, but having a veteran guard like Harden, who has shown to want to handle the ball most of the game, gives the Jazz some flexibility with a small ball lineup where either player can run the play. Mitchell has had some rough times with Gobert, but sources say the two work things out. A Donovan, Spider Mitchell, and Stepdaddy Harden backcourt could be super spooky to compete against. The Jazz can also give the Rockets a bigger package that they are desperately seeking of talent combined with assets. The Jazz could send the Rockets Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, and several draft picks in return for Harden. Harden would take over Conley's spot at point guard, and as much as losing Bojan hurts the Jazz, Harden's superstardom will more than make up for it. A big 3 of Mitchell, Harden, and Gobert would solidify the Jazz as the continued Western favorites, and they would become even spookier. The Lakers are already shivering at the possibility of facing the Jazz this year. Could you imagine the Jazz with James Harden? I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron James faked an injury simply to prevent humiliation in what would inevitably be an embarrassing defeat against the hypothetical stepdaddy Jazz, along with his all-star stepchildren, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
And we won the badge for one another. All his peers that play against him know what type of player he is and more importantly, what type of person.
The Rockets would get a clutch shooter and proven leader to come off the bench as 6th man for John Wall. They would also get flexibility with their cap space next year and more depth and more floor spacing with Bojan Bogdanovic. The Rockets would still have a crazy talented roster to compete in the West this year. The new Jazz owner, Ryan Smith, is a true Jazz fan and doesn't care about money. money. I don't think he would care about having 3 players on a supermax, as he is willing to go into the luxury if he wants a championship ring right away. Do you think the Jazz should trade for Stepdaddy Harden? Do you think the accusations against James Harden are overblown? Let me know in the comment section, and please remember to like and subscribe, as it is an easy and free way to help and support the channel. I'm going to go ahead and take care of whatever my cat wants, but I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Meow. What you want? What you keep bothering for, huh? Meow.
How the hell can I make my teammates better by practicing?
Let me pay for your class. Let me cover your books. 100 stack in my pocket is probably thick as a book.
I don't tip, I pay bills. Bitches call me Buffalo.
Show me something, I might owe you something. Them bands waiting and I know you want 'em. I'm trying to pay your student loans. Fuck your boyfriend, I don't want your number. You say no to ratchet pussy. Juicy J, can't.
Uh-oh, dropping the weed. Come on, man. Don't do that.